Pretty much every country out there has a kind of instruction manual, a master blueprint really, that's supposed to define and limit power. So today, we're going to decode it. Let's dive right in.
But before we get into the weeds, I've got a question for you. Think about all the laws, all the documents that make a country run. Which one do you think sits right at the very top of that pyramid? The big one. Well, the answer is a nation's constitution. And it's not just another law, not by a long shot. In fact, our source material here calls it the mother of all laws. I mean, think about that. It's the foundational document that gives every other law its power. Okay, so before we can really dig into this whole blueprint idea, we got to be crystal clear on who the players are. Because, in this world of political science, words like state, nation, and government have super specific meanings. You can't just swap them around.
First up, let's talk about the state. The easiest way to think about it is like it's the whole stage, the entire arena where the political game is played. It's the permanent entity. It's got borders, and, this is the big one, it has sovereignty. That's just a fancy word for the supreme independent power to rule itself. So the state is basically the container for everything else.
Right. So inside that container, that's where you find the government. And here's the crucial difference. The government is temporary. It's the actual group of people, the machinery that's running the state right now. They're the operators, the ones making and enforcing the laws at this very moment. And this comparison here just makes it so clear, doesn't it? The state is the entire ship. It's permanent, it's always there. The government, well, that's just the crew that happens to be steering it right now. They come and go. Seriously, getting this difference down is key to understanding everything else we're going to talk about.
And to round things out, we've got the nation. Now, this one's different. It's not a political structure at all. It's a human one. A nation is all about a group of people who feel connected, They share a culture, a language, a history. And a single state can be home to just one nation, or it could have many, many different nations living inside its borders.
All right, so now that we know who the players are, the state, the government, the nation, let's get back to that blueprint. What is a constitution actually designed to do? I mean, what are its real core jobs when it comes to organizing and, more importantly, controlling power?
Well, the source material gives us this really powerful definition. It says, a constitution is a frame of political society organized through and by the law for the purpose of restraining arbitrary power. Just let that sink in for a second. Its main job isn't to give power, it's to restrain it, to put legal chains on it, so to speak.
And check this out. Right here in these original notes, we can actually see the heart of the blueprint. It's all laid out. They highlight 3 core jobs that any real constitution has to do. So let's break them down one by one. So how does it actually do that? How does it restrain power? Well, first it separates it, creates different branches of government so no single part gets too big for its britches. Second, it divides it, splitting it up between, say, a national government and more local ones. And third, and this one is absolutely crucial, it's there to protect the rights of individuals and minorities from the power of the government. It's a shield.
Okay, but here's where things get really, really interesting. A country can have this beautiful, perfectly written constitution, a totally flawless blueprint on paper, and it can mean absolutely nothing in the real world. Why? Because the document itself isn't the magic ingredient. Nope. The real power comes from the idea behind it.
And that big idea has a name: constitutionalism. See, it's not a piece of paper, it's a belief system. It's the shared cultural idea that government power should be limited by law and that leaders have to be held accountable. Because honestly, without that belief, a constitution is just ink on paper. It's worthless.
And this chart here just lays out the stakes perfectly. On one side, you've got constitutionalism, limited power, accountability, respect for rights. And on the other side, you've got its polar opposite, despotism. That's where power is arbitrary, unchecked, and the rulers are basically a law unto themselves. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most critical part of this whole thing. If the belief, the idea, is more important than the document itself, then what happens when a country has the document but not the belief? What happens when the words on the paper just aren't real?
So let's just ask the big question straight up. Is it possible for a country to have an official written constitution, but have absolutely zero constitutionalism, no real belief in limiting power at all?
The answer is a massive, resounding yes. Absolutely.
A country can have the fancy document and completely ignore the principle behind it. And you know what? This is happening all over the world. So the real question for us becomes, how can you tell the difference?
Well, political scientists actually give us a handy framework for this. They say there are basically 3 types of constitutions. First, you've got the authentic ones, where the blueprint is real and people actually follow it. Then there's nominal, which is kind of like a goal for the future. It doesn't really match what's happening now. And then there's the facade. On paper, it looks legit, but in reality, it's a total sham, designed to hide the fact that power is completely unlimited.
And I love this. The source notes have this fantastic name for these sham documents. They call them trap constitutions. And that's exactly what they are. They're designed to trap people. They create this illusion of rights and limits, which makes it way harder for citizens and even the rest of the world to see the ugly, despotic reality that's hiding right underneath.
And that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to take away. The next time you look at any country's government, don't just ask, do they have a constitution? Ask the real question. Do they have constitutionalism? Are you looking at a genuine blueprint for power or a very well-designed trap?